So first you're going to take a cup of flour and put it in your bowl. Then you're going to grab your yeast, and I use the quick rise yeast. And then you're going to add about 2 1/4 teaspoons. If you're using the packets, then that's roughly about 1 packet. And you can just open that up and dump it in. Then you're going to take another 1.5 cups more of flour and add that on top. I usually make sure all the yeast is covered up. And then you can take and add your sugar, which I used 3 tablespoons. Then you can go ahead and add your salt. You do not want to forget the salt. I learned that, and it does not taste good without salt, obviously, but you'll add about 2 teaspoons of salt. Now it's time to make the liquid. So I did a cup of water and a cup of milk. And then you put that in the microwave, and you want it to be at least 120 degrees, no higher. A lot say in between 115, 120 degrees, or even 110, but I usually stick with 120 degrees. Then you can take that and dump it in with your mix and mix it on up. And this is where you're going to start adding more flour. Usually between 5 to 7 cups of flour is used, but the less you use, the better. So that's why you just add in gradually as you go, and when you knead it, you're going to need flour on the ground and on your hands and top of it. So I try and add in the least amount of flour and just kind of knead it in as I go. But you can tell it is very sticky and you need to add more, or it's just going to be a big mess on your hands. I also do find it easier to get it all mixed in with the flour outside of the bowl, so when it's to the point where I know I can get it out, then that's what I prefer to do because it's easier to knead it and get it all mixed in on the counter. You always want to make sure you put flour down on the counter you're working on before you put the dough. I think by now I have around 4.5 cups of flour plus the flour I put on the counter. And now you just want to start kneading it. Usually I go for 8 minutes, or just you can kind of tell as you're working with it when it feels ready. It kind of varies, I can't really say, oh, it'll take this long because it could take longer, it could take not as long. It varies every time I make bread or rolls. So, and you can kind of tell when the air is out of it, then you know it's ready and you can let it sit and rise. And at this point, if it is still really sticky, which I didn't have a problem with this time around, but sometimes I'll be working with it and my hands are just covered in dough and it's just not going very well. Then you can add a little more flour, or sometimes I just say, "Oh, I'm done with it. Let's throw it in a pan and cook it." So now we can pick it on up and put it in our bowl so we can let it rise. You'll want to add some oil on top. Here I added a little too much. You don't have to do quite as much, but just, to cover the top of it. Then you want to cover it and let it rise for about 10 to 15 minutes. Since it's a quick rising, it doesn't take very long. While you're waiting, you can spray your pan, get that all ready. Then look how much bigger it got. Now you can start balling them up, rolling them up, and you just kind of smooth it out and pinch it around to the bottom. And yeah, it's pretty simple. You kind of can just play with it a little bit and get it shaped how you want. Pinch it around on the bottom, and they will go really good for you. The only thing I wish here is I made a very dense roll because I made them a little bigger. If you want them a little fluffier, softer, make them smaller and then cook them. I should have did, well, I had 4 extra I could do, but I should have did split them up a little bit and did 2 pans. But they tasted very good. Now you just let them cook in the oven at 400 degrees for about 30 to 40 minutes. It kind of just varies. When you take them out of the oven, you can just butter the tops of them and they're ready for you guys to enjoy.